Friday Live. LSU Odyssey is in the house. How are you guys doing? How's everybody doing? It's not the exact screen layout I wanted. All right. Did we just go Keith Moon on your ass? No, it was kind of like Michael Shrevey more. You don't know who the hell I'm talking about. Google Michael Shrevey Woodstock, and you'll see him and his insane drum solo playing as the drummer for Carlos Santana. And his drums during Soul Sacrifice literally will rip your face off. Unreal Michael Shrevey in that at Woodstock. Like, it was just crazy shit. Just Latin rhythms and then just straight up unbelievable Keith Moonisms. Just brilliant. Everybody knows that Santana kicked ass in the early 70s. Everyone knows that. If you don't know that and you think Santana is Rob Thomas and Smooth and all that, then you just don't know who Santana is. So yeah, go back in Santana in the first 69, 70, 68. Blow your mind. Absolutely blow your mind. But we are here to discuss LSU's, some things developing for the 2025 season behind the scenes that nobody is talking about. And I think maybe we're the only one who has any type of information on these type of developments. So we will provide that to you. And then also we wanted to do a countdown of sorts. A countdown where we celebrate. This is something that I think has never been done. And I think it should be done to kind of encapsulate this era and almost crystallize maybe the fraternity of fellows who love to cover LSU football. And so we are going to do a countdown of our favorite. No bias was used in this. I will say that. We didn't say like, oh, we like that person more than this person. We literally judged it by content alone, by people who we, and I hate using that word, but I just, for lack of a better word, the creators we liked the most and whose stuff we looked at the most, watched the most, listened to the most. That is how I'm going to judge this on. And so I would love your own lists. I'm not sure if it's a top 5, top 10. I think we were ended up with a top 8 or some bullshit thing because we just could not. Let me see. How many did we get? Oh, yeah, we only have 8. We only have 8 in the final countdown. So we added a few that we were like, oh, whoa. We have to add these people in here. But I think that's really it, is this top 8. So it is kind of a strange list with just being a top 8. But I think it's an important list. I think it's work by these guys that should be respected. They deliver on a lot of levels. And that's the thing is, I think I think all of these people who make the list, these media members who make the list, are all men. And that's a shame. That should change. I hope it changes. I just don't see very many females covering LSU, or if they do, they're like the producer of the show. They're not really like running the thing or creating the thing. Or if they are creating the thing, usually I'm just not as much of a fan of their content as I am these creators. And so it's not really an intentional women suck type of thing. Trust me, if a woman is the best, I'm all for it. I don't really care. I don't discriminate. It's, for me, it's who who am I really going and listening to? Something happens in LSU. Who am I honest to myself? Who am I honestly listening to? Who am I trusting? Like, hey, okay, cross-referencing my own sources. Like, say I'm reporting a story, but say they beat me to it or something, or say that we're neck and neck. I'm sure that they're talking to the same person too, or I might even hear that they are. And say I'm like, you can even cross-reference sources with some of these folks, and it's very interesting to see who actually puts in the work, who actually does talk to sources, who actually goes out of their way to report on things and actually ask tough questions, hold people in power accountable. You know how many times I've had those calls where people in power, people in positions are pissed off at what I've done. How dare you report this? How dare you? And then they always tell me consequences are coming and that I'm going to have to pay for this and you're never going to get this. And that nothing ever happens. In fact, I've only seen things improve. Not only our work gets better, I think, as we learn some of the mistakes that we've made over the years and kind of get better from that, but also life itself. Things are starting to fall together in a line in a way that is making some good sense and making stuff seem. I have to basically what I'm trying to say is there's not so much drama going on. I don't have to worry about anything. So like I can really give everything to covering LSU football as a career, because I'm not like having to be a parent and then go to work and then also like deal with all this like dramatic insanity. Like I have peace when I come home. I owe a lot of that to Chelsea. She's no drama and just like. It's just great environment at home. And so, it's going to be a great year of LSU coverage. That's all I can say. It's not just for me, but I'm meaning across the board. It's like, I think this is going to be a very interesting year for LSU coverage. It's going to be a team that we don't know everything about. We don't have this team quite nailed down. There's people who really believe this is the issue with this team going into this season. There's people who believe no, it's this, and no, it's that. Oh no. There's people who think it's the DBs, safeties, corners. We need to figure that shit out. People like me think we actually improved at the spots defensive back wise. In a way that's made me feel a lot better about that spot, to say that the defensive tackle / interior O-line is where my worries are placed the most going into this season. So you've got people who are satisfied by what we've done with the transfer portal and think it's fantastic. There's a lot of fans who have no clue who we even got out of the portal, and we'll figure that out in August. It's very interesting. Some of the LSU fans I talk to, and what they know about this team. Know about the transfers. I heard we did great in the transfer portal, but I don't know who the hell that is. And it's like, so you're trusting this guy and this guy's opinion. You're not even going and watching the film and seeing, is Berrien Brown good? Is Nick Anderson that future number one receiver at LSU? Right. Are these guys that good? Like there's so many LSU fans though that do that work and go deep diving, and if you're wrong in the media, they will hold your feet to the fire, and you can get your pants pulled down by LSU's fan base because they are the most knowledgeable and they pay the most attention. But there are those casual fans that maybe don't know how well Kelly just did in the transfer portal. Don't understand LSU's place maybe in the national scope, where LSU are going to be a team that's going to be taken for granted for a while here. A program that's going to have to really prove itself to these national analysts and these national talking heads and So don't expect ESPN, even if LSU have, everything looking like it's falling together through spring. Don't expect anyone in the national forums, the national channels, national websites, any of these things. Don't expect any of them to be, kissing LSU's ass, predicting LSU are going to have a great season in 2025. They're just not going to be doing that. They are going to overlook LSU hardcore this season, like almost every team will on our schedule. And I think this is a season where LSU can catch all these people by surprise, kind of like we did in 2019. Sucker punch these assholes, but then don't stop. Stay aggressive, completely dominate, drag their ass back to the grave from whence they came, and really take advantage of a really weak SEC. We're going to have the best quarterback in the SEC with Garrett Nussmeier. And you're going into the season knowing that for a fact. Whereas like 2019, it was like, Joe Burrow, most national college football analysts and most NFL draft people would have taken Tua over Joe Burrow before that 2019 season, like 10-1, like no problem. After, not so much, of course, but that's why I think it's going to be very interesting for LSU, because there's so many pieces to this team that have a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of pieces to this team that are a lot of unknowns, but there's also most of the pieces to this team have been proven, have played games for LSU. LSU have just lost some critical players to the NFL draft, and there's no getting around that. 4 out of 5 starting offensive linemen, where, guys like Garrett Dellinger, Miles Frazier, what they did, the grunt work, a center like Charles Turner, you lose him 2 years ago. That's you can't sell or even quantify how much that can screw your offensive lineup. And you saw it this last year. And that was even with 2 pillar first-round level bookend tackles. And that was with an offensive line that had a lot of chemistry. So let's see how this goes. Let's see how this develops. And hopefully LSU can figure this out on the offensive line. I got to plug this in real quick, this charger. 1 second. Intermission brought to you by LSUODYSSEY.COM shaving cream. And now back to your messages. I don't know what that voice was from. That was weird. Who was talking? That was strange. Well, we're back. God, how long were we? We were off screen for quite a long time. Holy crap. My invisible watch is telling me we were gone for like 20 minutes. That was nuts. We're going to start our countdown. LSU top media people. Okay? And for me, this show, even though this show has really undergone some changes recently, I think the Jordy Culotta show, it's got to be on the top 10 list, because I actually like some of these changes. I love that. I don't like that Jordy's not going to be on it, but I love Lloyd getting a more enhanced role. I'm a big fan of Lloyd Courtney. I love the exciting tone and tenor and pop of his voice. There's sometimes Noah can be a bit more flat with his register, but he's just barely starting this out. Noah's actually really good. When he's like excitably hitting the mark, you feel it and you want to keep watching this more. And, they're still getting the interviews. They still got Chris Blair coming on. We've never had Chris Blair on our show. Jordy's not on the show anymore. He left this last week. But they're able to have some really interesting interviews still daily. And they do all these watch-along shows. Very tireless work that they do. And so Jordy Culotta Show has actually done a lot of cool stuff for us as well. Jordy was good to us. There's Lloyd right there on camera. And so I feel like, we haven't been given too many opportunities or even like much even like interaction whatsoever. Most of these people kind of want to kill me, probably, and don't think I'm much of a professional. But they have the Jordy Culotta Show, and they always have. So we have something actually in the works with them for this next few weeks as well, for a show collaboration that you'll definitely want to check that out. Checking notifications. There's Noah right there on screen. He's got a good athletic kind of mentality, but also perspective on the thing that you just couldn't really get with Jordy either. So Jordy leaves. Wish he'd come back and do the media thing. He had a good voice, but he's not feeling the passion. So when that's going on, you do gotta kind of hang it up. But you look at Lloyd. He's got the passion. He'll stay up days doing this shit. Like he is a workaholic, and people want to criticize and maybe talk shit on forums and stuff like that. That's fine, but those people would instantly trade places with Lloyd and do anything to trade places with Lloyd to get that platform and to have that microphone and to be on that screen. So and to have that accomplishments over that time. So it's very interesting to me. Oh yeah, it's only top 8. So yeah, I was like, wait, no. We're at number 8. See, it's a weird countdown that's only top 8. We've got to change the thing because I think it still says top 5. Yeah, shoot. So at number 8, Jordy Culotta Show. And I think it's more than deserved. Oh, come on. Okay, it'll let me change it later. Whatever. We'll change it later. Jordy Culotta Show, I think that's definitely deserved. They had to get on the list. Jordy was a voice that so many people listened to. He built something great. And you know what? I think he deserves to why did I hide? I think he deserves to have that shout out and that love. That's why I also wanted to do that show with him before he left as well. But also with what Lloyd has growing with this show, and you got Noah, his voice, his connections. I think you've got a strong duo there for the future. And I think they'll be honestly building something that might be sustainable for quite some time. And this is going to be interesting right here, what people think about this next entry into the Pantheon. We could have put the footage of us with Jordy doing the thing, but doing the interview, we just barely did. I wanted to show Jordy, but I also wanted to show Lloyd. I wanted to show Noah, and that was their most recent episode right there, actually. Where's a good photo of Charles Hannegriff? Oh my God, the hair T-Bob has in this photo. Oh my God, that is hilarious. T-Bob, The hair is just glorious. Okay, there we go. Charles Hannegriff, baby. Charles Hannegriff, number 7 on our top 8 LSU media countdown. Charles Hannegriff. The only time I've ever seen Charles Hannegriff was he was walking out of a Ruffino's while I'm walking into Ruffino's the first time, and he looks at me like this dude could be a serial killer. Like, you could just tell he was like, who the fuck is this guy? But you could tell the reason he was actually, you could tell he recognized me, but he's like, I have no clue where that guy, I recognize that from. But maybe he was just looking at me because I had this look on my face. Oh my God, that's Charles Hannegriff walking out of Ruffino's. It was hilarious. I didn't say anything. He got in his car, he left, and me and my dad walked in there and ate, and we loved that place. Ruffino's, so damn good. Ruffino's in Baton Rouge, not the other location in Lafayette. This was the Baton Rouge location. So good. So good. This was back in early March 2022. So someone might say it sucks. I don't know. Like, when we ate it, I ate at Ruffino's. It was unbelievable. We didn't eat there last few times because of, other people wanted to take us certain places. And so we already had plans. And so we didn't go back there. But if it's up to us, we probably would go back there. Just like Perrines. Man, I could eat their andouille all day at Perrines. Oh my God. Perrines so good. Perrines incredible. But Charles Hannegriff, I feel, has to be on this list because he is an encyclopedia, a freaking encyclopedia of LSU's past, their present, and he might not be as dialed in on the future as like some of these other guys we're gonna bring up, specifically one of these other guys. But Charles, for me, is someone I really want to get to know. I did kind of have like a slight conversation with him, but not really. Where I'm talking to Jacob Hester and taking photos with Jacob Hester, and he's like, "Lon, do you know what an A gap is?" Like, because he was admonishing some media guy who didn't know what an A gap was. I'm like, "Yeah, it's right. It's the gap right through the center, right through the gut." And he's like, "Exactly." Hanny walks up and was like, Hey, Hess. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt what's going on. I'm like, no, he has a show to do. It's all good. You guys have a show to do. There's something about the radio. I didn't want to take up more of his time. But Hanny is just a good dude. But also loves to get to hear kind of more. There's things I don't know about LSU that I know he knows about LSU. And I want to know those things because he's frankly just a knowledge maker, a keeper of knowledge, this man. And so I really would love to pick his brain about LSU history and some of the things that he knows that I have no clue about. And that's more not out of like, oh, I want to be better than him. No, I don't care about that. I just, Hanny, you can't top this guy. You can't get better than his reputation. I would assume, because how respected he is, and he's had so many years doing this. So many years doing this at a high level, and with really intriguing co-hosts as well all along. So for me, you have to put Charles Hannegriff on this list. He's an LSU institution, and he's always got something to say, and it's always interesting to hear him say it. That's the thing, too. You might have something to say, you might have a platform to say it, but no one wants to fucking hear you say it. Hannegriff. Sage is hearing me. What are you doing? Hannegriff, we want to hear him say it, right? We want to hear him talk. We want to hear him say what he has to say. and we want to hear him, hey, talking about something from a great perspective about the current team. But then he goes, listen to this epic story about the Saban team in 03 that I saw behind the scenes with my access. And this is what I know can happen to this and this and this if you do that. Like, he always has the best post games. When LSU lose these post games, when LSU lose these games and you want to listen to the best post game to kind of like drown your sorrows in it, Whiskey and Wine, I always have to listen to it. But sometimes it can be a little toxic with some of the fans getting into it. Hanny, I love listening to what he has to say after a hard loss by LSU, because he simply just gives it to you straight and says, this is what is happening. This is what we must overcome. This is what we got to change about this team, or else we're never going to reach this level and this level. He calls people out. He has no problem if they're going to have some beef with him about the call out. He doesn't play access journalism where he's too afraid to call his friends at LSU ops or within the LSU roster or LSU staff out. He will call every one of them out, because I don't think he plays the source game as much as a reporter, breaking news guy like I do. He's more someone who he's gonna just like he's not gonna go report a story. He's gonna tell you how he sees things, and that's really gonna be it. He's a diehard LSU fan who's worked his ass off to be put in a position where he can speak about it, and he's gonna tell you about it, and that's gonna be it. And that's why Charles Hannegriff is an LSU institution, because you know what you're going to get. You're going to get grade A analysis. You're going to actually want to hear him talk. And, just even talking about it right now makes me want to go listen to what he did today and catch up on the show he churned out today. So, interesting stuff. Number six, Shea Dixon of On3. God, I moved over here because my son's stuff over there was too loud. And now I'm going to move over here because he's too loud. Shea Dixon, number 6. And you can include On3 in that as well. Shea, for me, is a good dude who has always gone out of his way to be like, hey, what if there's anything I can help you with, if there's anything that, just media guy type of advice, he won't be afraid to tell me something. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm going to watch that guy just walk right off a cliff. Who gives a shit? Like, he actually will say, hey, I don't want to see you walk off that cliff. This is what you're doing wrong, blah, 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 blah. Whether I agree with him or not, or whether he sometimes has misunderstood some things or not, Shea has always come from an amazing place with a great heart, and he's always cared about other people's success. He's always wanted other people to succeed, not just himself. He doesn't have greed about his breaking news or the breaking news of others. Shea was one of the first to publicly credit our breaking news. And he did it with some massive platforms that he has. And we would not be anywhere close to what we're doing, and we're just a little speck, but still, we would be nowhere with what we're doing if it wasn't for the help, at least as far as like, hey, he deserves the credit that so many people were just ripping off from me for years. Just completely taking my stories for years. And they would use their higher visibility to just kind of overwhelm our lower visibility online. Shea would go and straight up just tag us and broken by this guy first. It was like, wow, he would do that type of stuff that wasn't only just honorable, but it was fair and it was the right thing to do. And also, Shay just is a appreciator of good work. And so, I usually know if I've done something good if Shay Dixon likes it. Like our T-Bob interview, he seemed to enjoy that. And I knew in my heart that was going well during the thing. So, I mean, if you're going right, if Shay Dixon is saying like, hey, you're on the right path, because even though he just specializes in recruiting, he covers the whole gamut. And I love his recruiting stuff, but I'm not as into his recruiting analysis as I'm into just the analysis of LSU as, the whole thing, really. I'm not as into recruiting as I used to be, just overall, because of some of the changes. They've made it to the point where my job's almost, Shay is doing it in a very creative way where he's able to be such an insider that he can still do this. For me, I'm to the point where like kids can tell me exactly where they're going to go, but then they're going to change their mind 5 days later. And if they tell me, and I break it first again, like, hey, he actually isn't going to go there. He's going to go here. I'm breaking it first. People would still say, hey, you got it wrong. Like, you really can't win with recruiting coverage because of the way the predictions are. You predict this and you never know where they're going to go because there's so much money involved. It's not just about how much someone likes a school, how much they feel taken care of by that school, and that can include financial stuff, cars, things like that, gifts. Players were always paid under the table, but it was more like that, not like this, where you got players selling their soul for recruits selling their soul, basically, for kids crying their eyes out. I don't want to go to this school, but I'm doing it because I don't want mama to be living in a fucking trailer anymore. And I get it, because I come from I'm still living in a pretty small apartment here. We have a great life. We've got a roof overhead. We've got all this stuff, but like, we're pretty close from being out in the same situation. So I get why you would take a lot of money over going to the passionate place. But I mean, it's just not the way some people are wired. And recruiting has become a hellish place to do coverage or to lay your stake for this is where I'm going to make the meat and potatoes for my coverage is going to be recruiting coverage. That's so tough right now. And I've got to applaud Shay Dixon, because a lot of guys would have quit, would have pivoted, would have done something that was maybe a lot easier. He was like, fuck that. I'm gonna hang in here, and I'm gonna hang tough with this. And okay, maybe I got this one wrong. Maybe I'm gonna get this one wrong. But the vast majority, we're going to nail this just like we always have. And we're going to adapt to these changing times that just where everything is almost against a recruiting expert being successful with their predictions nowadays. He's still pushing, fighting, scrapping, grinding every day to provide LSU fans with the best recruiting coverage. And I feel that despite all of the crazy changes in the sport, yes, there's people who are going to always hold the Bryce Underwood thing against Shay Dixon. And I think that is just absolutely comical. Like, Shay could literally put a Neuralink in Bryce Underwood's brain and oh my God, he's talking to Larry Ellison. Oh my God. Just like how people were shitting on me for getting Tristan Lee wrong back in 2021, we can only operate on what those kids, what their parents tell us. and then like what we also see, and kind of what we deduce. But if everything that we see, everything that we're told is a lie, and someone just changes their mind behind the scenes very quickly because there's a ton of money on the table and you're not privy to that meeting, it happens very fast. Boom, boom, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Pay me now, mom's not eating any more spam. Then, I think it's just really unfair the way that people went after him for that. I think it's bullshit. And I think, he deserves a lot more credit for how many he's nailed over the years. I think he's got like a 98%, 97% success rate on his picks, which is just disgusting. That's absolutely insane. That's filthy. That's a damn good number. I know for a fact LSU Odysseys is probably like in like 86, 87 that we've got with our picks. I was able to quantify that just over time, just looking at every one of them and documenting them. Like, what did we get right here? What did we get wrong? We've hung about that 86%. Our most embarrassing miss was Kool-Aid McKinstry to LSU way back in the day. We were actually high on that happening. What an embarrassment. Shay, if he's watching, is probably laughing like, oh my God, Lon actually predicted Kool-Aid to LSU. What an idiot. But that's the thing. If you don't have the sources like Shay Dixon has, you don't talk to the kids as much as Shay Dixon has, or at least try to. You're never going to recover. You're never going to cover recruiting as even close to the way that he does it. He's tireless. I don't see him taking many breaks. I don't see him. Hey, this is the time where I'm just going to go out on my yacht. Like. He's always covering stuff. He's always in the foxhole, or always in the bunker. And I appreciate what he does. And I think LSU fans need to understand that we're actually pretty damn lucky when you're looking at it from a recruiting perspective. Because whether it's been Coach Joe, Brian Kelly, Les Miles, Shay Dixon has pretty much nailed LSU recruiting for the last however long. So there's a lot to be appreciative there for his contribution to LSU media, as well as just being a nice badass dude. So that's how we feel about Shay Dixon and what he provides LSU fans. And I just think I think the dude really does have a great heart, and I think he continues to provide the best type of content for LSU fans, specifically in the most dangerous game for a college football media man, covering recruiting. It's literally a landmine of just nothing should go your way. Nothing should go your way. That's how I see it. And, that's how it's been for so long. Ever since NIL started, ever since NIL got hot, it's been a wild world. It's been a wild world. Okay. Our next one on the list. A lot of people are going to be pissed at me for putting him on the list. There's a lot of people who don't like him for some reason. But one thing they cannot deny is that they listen to him and is that they watch him. Matt Moscona, who's been on our show a few times. And every time we have absolutely loved the conversation. Matt has been very good to us. He gave us a lot of advice. Some we agreed with, some we didn't. He told us not to do breaking news. At the time, we weren't having too much success doing it, and we stayed the course, and it's paid off. But a lot of what he has said was very astute, and we've adopted it and gone with it. I think he is a hell of a dude, because here's the thing. He got into the media world, the media game, while his son was fighting some intense surgeries. having to do so many different medical operations away from home as well in Houston. And it was during that time that I first started watching him. And so it was kind of, I always knew the story of Drew from the get go. And you see the man's humanity, and it's just brilliant. He's a nice, awesome dude. But I also love that he can be you know, a dark baron of ass kickery on this show where he's doing the Bama is burning skits. I mean, are you kidding me? Some of those skits get ridiculous. He gets so wild and hilarious. And Matt hasn't really changed much over the years, but what he's done is he's gotten out of his shell and he's tried different things. And he's kind of stuck with some comedic stuff. And I think it's fantastic. Like, how could you, like, once the Bama's burning stuff was big, he was going, like, I'm going all in with this. And I'm glad he did. The Bama is burning stuff is absolutely hilarious. The music, the timing of it all, Musso's part in it, it gets hilarious. Matt, he isn't a breaking news guy, but he still has those sources. He still talks to people on the record, and he comes back to his show and he brings back grade A information. Sometimes stuff that I didn't know about. Sometimes I'm like, holy shit, what? And I go and investigate something based on what his show told me. Like, hey, Matt will report something like, hey, whoa, this thing is going on. I'll go, really? And I'll go deep diving and I'll go digging with my own sources to try and figure out. And there's sometimes I've found out that some people have told Matt stuff, so I know he actually talks to people. I know he actually has relationships. And he's cultivated those for years. And he's really, a very smart dude. LouisianaSports.net, the site started by him and Gordy Rush. I'm not exactly who started it, but at least one of those guys. I know Matt does a lot of work on it, though, and I know Matt is basically the main hub of that thing. And they kill us in traffic, I'm sure. Take a ton of traffic from LSU Odyssey, I'm sure. And they're very smart to do so. Matt, I feel like, is... I don't know, there's some stuff about him that people, I think, get wrong. I think they think he's an elitist. I think they think they don't understand maybe some of the humor he has, and they take some of the things the wrong way. But there's a lot of people who do not, they'll claim to not like him, claim to hate the guy. And then it's like, you find out, yeah, but guess what? You live by that info, that news, and you live by the notification of he's going live. You are watching him. So especially the Bama is burning haters, they started watching him and subscribing to him just so they could comment every show. But nevertheless, watching still. So haters of Matt Moscona, fuck you. That's all I have to say. Matt is a good dude. He's always been nice to us. He's always given us opportunities. And guess what? He's come on this show multiple times. There's a lot of snooty, too good for you type of people in the media business who wouldn't have given someone like us even a sniff, even a shot. Matt was like, "Yeah, man, anytime. When are you ready?" Like, Matt was like so available and giving of his time. It almost made me sick because the guy is very busy and he has a very full plate with everything he's managing and all the hours he's doing. It can't be easy. And so for me, I've got a lot of respect for him. And I think for people who aren't Matt Moscona fans and kind of like, how dare you rep Moscona because you've rep Moscona, I hate you now, Lon. Like, for those people, like, I'm sorry, but that's how I feel about him. I think he's a good dude and tough. Number 4. Who will number 4 be? Number 4 is Carter the Power. Carter the Power is number 4 on our top 8 LSU media list. I know, top 8. It's weird. The number 4 has to go to Carter the Power. You can see him right there on the far right. He joined us on an episode of Mark Rogers a few years back. An episode where I actually said, what are we doing even talking about Miles Brennan in the quarterback hunt? This guy isn't even going to be close to the role. It's Jaden Daniels' job with Nuss in second. And within a day, Miles, boom, he was gone. So it was very interesting. Carter the Power. My God, everybody. I think when it comes to film study, I think Carter the Power might be the best. I think Carter the Power, I think he takes the cake when it comes to film study. Over 12.2 thousand subscribers. 12.2 thousand subscribers on YouTube. He's just a YouTuber. He's not like, me where I'm trying to do like 100 damn things at once. He's smart and focuses on one thing. And Carter really has a very devoted following. And I've always been a fan. I've always watched his stuff. We're subscribed. And let's get, here we go. Let's get his face up on here. Carter's got swagger. Okay, Carter's got vibe. Carter has soul. Carter has a power. No wonder they call him Carter the Power. He's got a power that is just, you hear him talk about LSU, and you want to run through a fucking train. Like, he gets it. He gets the intensity. He gets the aggression of it all. But when he's doing film study, he's almost got like a gentle voice. And it's because he's trying to make sure every detail is accounted for. And it's because what he does is very detail-oriented, very careful, very meticulous. Let's find one of his film studies to show off. Here we go. Maybe this will have it? I don't know. Maybe that won't. Yeah, it just says podcast. But yeah, here we go. Even though this is one that LSU fail, who cares? It's a film study. His film study has helped me understand some things. So there's times I've even been like, holy crap, okay, I didn't even notice that happened. Whoa, Carter, you madman. I don't know how he gets around the copyrights. I don't know how. But it's brilliant. It's brilliant. But Carter, I feel like, yeah, he's not, one of the top names on the, he's not one of the first names, this guy from this big name, this guy from this big institution, this guy from this, like, no. And that's why I love what he does. Is he's an independent grinder, and he has continued to climb. And guess what? I think Carter, it's not long before he gets some big opportunities his way. Not long at all, I think. I think Carter the Power is someone to really look up to how he's done this. If you want to get into this, look at how he's done it. Look at how he, sets up his channel. And that's the way to go. And now for number 3. Number 3. Who will number 3 be? Who will number 3 be? This is going to shock all of you. Number 3, T-Bob Hebert. Had to be on the list. Had to be in the top 5 because he's someone I always listen to. He's someone I always take into account. I always take their opinion in. And sometimes I no, I don't agree with that. Whatever. And it doesn't, okay. But there's a lot of times he encapsulates it perfectly. There's a lot of times former Tiger T-Bob Hebert absolutely nails it. And he's got multiple shows where he can show what he can do in multiple different ways. Whiskey and Wine is the wild, unhinged, craziest side of LSU football that you can find outside of some of our wilder articles at LSU Odyssey. It's simply insane. Him and Matt Moscona joining forces for that. That's why that's so powerful. On the other side, off the bench with Jacob Hester, it's part of my morning routine. Always is, always has been. If I don't watch it in the morning, it's because I'm doing something of our own that we haven't finished and we need to get done. But I always will watch their stuff, always listen to their stuff. And T-Bob, for years, I have listened to him, and he always has a pulse of what's going on. If he doesn't, he never claims to. That's the thing. You'd never have him just claiming to know shit he doesn't know. He will openly say, I don't know. And how rare you hear that. There's just a lot of things about T-Bob I love, from the comedy of him to the really inspired choices of words that he has an appreciation of the arts. He has an appreciation of good movies, good books, good TV shows, to the point that he comes from an artistic perspective that I appreciate. And some of the times I'm like, wow, I actually get exactly what he's doing here. It's a very different wavelength, very hilarious. And sometimes he offends people and says things and says the F word and whatever. Who cares? Like, he's absolutely hilarious. LSU needs him. LSU needs this guy to continue coverage. Why would you want to get rid of T-Bob Hebert? To me, that would be an absolute sin if T-Bob moved markets. But you know what? I think at some point he's going to. I think T-Bob's going to be able to take what he does nationally. I just don't. I just don't want to see him take the celebrity part of it too seriously. Because I think there is times that people can get caught up in that type of thing when it's, hey, you're a persona. Hey, you're a persona. Hey, you're a persona. You're a persona. T-Bob is just who he is. And I think other people can consider a persona. I just consider him a dude who has multiple sides to him, and he's into a lot of different things. And he's very good at what he does. And that's really the bottom line. Number 2. This is going to shock a lot of people. I'm telling you. This is going to shock a lot of people. Jacob Verdon is number 2 of the Verdon verdict. I think he's the most underrated. I think he's the most overlooked talent in LSU media. Some of his interviews with players, with Sherman Wilson, he's the only person in LSU media outside of us who has actually attempted to interview these players and do get interviews with these players on the current team. And I have a lot of admiration for him doing that. I think it's the right way to go. I think you've seen him. He's got a very cool, aesthetic to what he does. And a lot of the film footage he takes gets sent all over the place, gets viral like crazy. And so, look at that, him right there with Jamar Chase. We've seen him at some of these press conferences and games and stuff. He's a good dude. I'm not sure if he likes us or not, but whether people like us or not, I don't care. I'm going to say if they're good or not. And I think he's really got a really interesting package of things together, where you've got the footage, the filming on the sidelines that he can bring to it, this really cool visual aspect that he can do the interviews as well. You don't see that combination. And I think Jacob Verdon deserves a lot more love than he gets. Number 1. Who's it going to be? Who's number 1 going to be? Number 1, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Can somebody guess? Can somebody guess? Got a ton of people watching. Who is it going to be? Who is it going to be? Number 1 is Jacques Doucet. Jacques Doucet. There he is on our show. He's been on a few times. Huge Van Halen fan. Esteemed Van Halen fan. Actually, I take that back. Van Hagar fan. He seems to be really committed Van Hagar fan. Not really much of David Lee Roth fan at all. And that's fine. That's the era he grew up in. And I get that. And I respect it. And I love that he wants all of his music to have a chorus pedal attached to it for that 80s sound. I get it. Jacques Doucet is an absolute badass. The reason he's number 1 to me is because he is everywhere at everything LSU. Baseball, football, softball, basketball, women's basketball. He is at everything. Tireless. He's always on the news. He'll be guesting on Jordy Collada's show and then guesting on this show. I think he does so many different things. You've seen his documentary that he did with Cecil Collins. He's doing all these interviews and he's doing all this. Derek Quano is doing all this editing for him, but Jacques is doing a lot of this stuff, putting a lot of this shit together. He is multi-talented what he does, and then he can break news as well. He's had some breaking news, been credited with some big breaking news for WAFB, credited by ESPN outlets. His footage gets shown by ESPN outlets, by the biggest of the biggest. He has the most access of anyone, and he's earned it because he's at everything. He's shown the most commitment to LSU daily as a media member. And that's why he has the most access. That's why he gets the first Brian Kelly interview. That's why he gets the first Kim Mulkey interview. That's why he gets the first, and how could I ever, hey, how dare he get this interview? Jacques puts so much work into this. He's dedicated his life to this thing. How could we not, understand that? Especially being an LSU fan first and foremost, as far as, as well as being in the media. credentialed media member, seen Geaux work in person. We've seen how he does it. It's not just, me just talking about this. We've seen how these guys work. We've seen Jacob Verdon in his mode working out at practice. We've seen how T-Bob does this shit. We've seen how Matt Moscona does this shit. We've seen Shea Dixon probably more than anybody. But Jacques Doucet is right there as well. We've seen him many times in his element doing his job, and he's won 2 Emmys as well. Jacques is known nationally for what he does covering Louisiana sports, Saints as well, Saints football as well. This guy is the hardest worker covering LSU media, and that's why he's the best. And that's why he's number 1 on our list. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. This was a really fun show to go through this countdown of, our picks, our favorites, really. And, if you disagree with us, that's fine. But if you do, comment and tell us why we are wrong and why we're wrong, why we suck. Tell us, okay? Everybody, happy Friday. And shop at iconicbrand.com, baby.